Hi everyone. All right, thank you for tuning into this broadcast. My name is Chidi. I'm the governorship candidate of the AAC in Enugu State. Today we're going to be talking about education. Okay, I've come across a lot of young people here in Enugu State, and not just Enugu State, all over the country. And those of them in the higher institutions, they all complain about the high cost of education, not just in the higher institution, in the tertiary institution, in the primary, everywhere I run into people, everybody seems to be complaining about education. And so today, our spotlight is going to be on education, right? I'm going to be discussing this with a couple of young people who are experiencing this right now, because they say he who feels it knows it. Before we actually get into discussing this thing in detail, I would like you to do me a favor and just share this video. Okay, just share this video amongst your friends, and let a lot of people gather as we discuss this issue, because this is an issue. There we go. Let me warn you, you're going to have a lot of disconnections through this broadcast, because that's the situation we find ourselves here. Okay, but just bear with us. If the network disconnects us, we'll try to reconnect as we try to do justice to this topic. Do me a favor for the next 2 or 3 minutes. Just share this video, invite people to come and be part of this broadcast so that we can share as many views as possible. Iveren Akko, thank you for coming on. Edie Johnson, thank you for coming on. Chukwu Phillips, thank you for coming on. Let's just keep sharing this, because the more the merrier, and then we'll all be able to give our input to this topic. All right, today I don't just want it to be me talking about it. As you all know, one of our paramount objectives for going into this race is to be able to bring affordable education to the citizens of Nigeria, and Enugu State is not going to be left out. Under our mega vision, we have plans to make sure that there's affordable education in Enugu State. We want to make sure that students of the institutions in Enugu State have a very conducive environment to learn, because if they don't have a conducive environment to learn, you and I know they're going to come back and they're going to come out very, very terrible students. Okay, so let's go out and invite people. Architect Emeka Ebuz, thank you so much for signing in. Zeb Ihena too, thank you so much for signing in. All of you guys, you're all welcome. A lot of architects here tonight. I'm glad to see you guys. When we compare the standard of education right now with the standard of education when some of us were in school, and even then, we actually thought that the standard had fallen. But if you compare it to now, you shed tears. Every of my friend here in Enugu, every of my friend here in Nigeria that has kids in school, the only thing on their minds right now, the only discussion that goes on around them is school fees. It's students going back to school. So that's why it is very, very important that we are talking about this very topic. I'm going to go ahead and give you guys a background again of what we are talking about. Today, we're going to be discussing education in Nigeria, education in Enugu State. We're going to be looking at the quality of education we have right now. We're going to be looking at what students are facing as they try to get education. We're going to be looking at the cost of education. We're going to be looking at the students, the graduates out of our school, their employability. You know, how great are they? How ready for employment are they? Are they ready for the job market out there? What kind of education are they getting? So these are some of the things we'll be discussing. Let me see if I can bring in some some of the people I want to talk with. Um, I'm inviting Eze Izuchukwu, who is actually graduating from the University of Nigeria, on the broadcast, and give us a little background about the kind of things that they go through as students. Let me also bring one more person, and then we're ready. Okay. Well, I don't know. We're trying. We're really trying. Thank you, Tommy, Geneva. You're watching from Geneva. Odera Abo, if you're watching right now, could you please click on the request button so that we can bring you on? Odera Abo, if you're watching, and Eze Zuchukwu Phillips, I can bring you guys live. You're really this to come from the students. Okay, Mazikadet might going to be, you're closer to people now. You will continue to be close to us when you win the election. Yes, Zeb Ihana too are going to be close to you. But I need Odera and Eze Zuchukwu Phillips to please click on the request button so that we can bring you on. Okay, guys, please. People are waiting. I need to hear from you. I'm no longer a student. Whatever I say now, people are going to think it's all propaganda, but when they hear it from people who are actually experiencing it, then they'll be able to believe what we're saying. Guys, today we're discussing education. We're discussing cost of education. We're discussing the quality of education. It is really terrible now. In the past, I remember those days when government schools used to be the best schools in town. If you went to a government college, they were the best. These days, it is the private schools that are better than the government schools. So what happened? What happened? How did we get this far? All right, if you cannot join, if you guys can't join me, it's okay. I'll just go ahead and talk. You have to turn your own cameras. Try to turn your own cameras. Thank you, Zeb. I'm just trying to bring some people on, but I don't know, so much problem. Anyways, what I'm trying to say is that in the past, government schools used to be the places to go to. But these days, the private schools are the ones that everybody has to run to right now. I see it as a conspiracy. It's a big conspiracy because we just can't stop blaming the government, because when you're a leader, when you're the government of the day, you have to be responsible. Okay, a nation rises and falls, according to the leadership. Okay, so the leadership has to just take responsibility for whatever is going on, and that's why in a situation where the standard of education has fallen, in a situation where education has become so expensive, we can only but blame the government. And you ask me why? I would say that the government stood by and watched as our education just collapsed. Okay, and then one of my friends will say, hey, Chidi, stop talking about the problem. We already know. Talk about the solution. Well, the solution still lies with the government. The solution lies with the government. There has to be laws that are put in place. We're just Udechidera, Tony Mary. Yeah, thank you for coming on. Let me see if I can bring you on. There's so much frustration trying to do anything here, but we are not just going to give up, okay? He came away from Achimex now. He said, go and shave first. Nonsense. He came away from Achimex. Okay, no problem. You're entitled to your own opinion. Like I was saying, the discussion is not about my bed. The discussion is about the quality of education that we have right now. The private schools are not really being monitored very well. I've been around. I've seen the quality of those ones that they call international schools, and we've seen the kind of teachers they have in them, the teaching materials that they are using, and wait for it, the amount of school fees that they pay in these schools. You don't even want to talk about it. Right now, if you have students in the tertiary institution, you know how much that you pay for them. And if somebody really thinks here, this is, as a governor to be, how will you address the issue of students and teachers relationship in comparison to what we have abroad? Well, if you ask me how to address relationship with students and teachers here, it still boils down to leadership. It is the will of the leadership to do the right thing, because the leaders, the heads of departments, the vice chancellors, the commissioner for education, the minister of education, they all know about what is going on. They know that teachers are still selling handouts. They know that teachers are still victimizing students. They know that teachers are still punishing students, and yet they're not doing anything about it. If students report lecturers and the school authority does not do anything about it, it empowers the lecturers to continue to intimidate the students. And it makes the students know that they don't have any powers. It makes the students know that even if they complain, nobody's going to do anything about it. So the first thing to do is to try to hold the lecturers accountable. I don't want to sound like the regular politician, but if we are to be in authority, teachers will be held accountable. What happened to supervisors that used to go around and supervise teachers? I'm telling you, what happened to supervisors? A lecturer will get up and tell you that I will make sure that you fail my course. If the lecturer knew that there was a supervisor that will hold them accountable, who is that lecturer to talk that way? There should be a panel that disciplines lecturers. But now there is none. So these are the things that would affect the relationship that you have between a lecturer and a student. Outside, lecturers know that they have certain limits with students. If lecturers go beyond a certain limit with students, the students are going to sue them. But here, it is not the case. So those are the things that we need to do with the lecturers and students. So that's the thing we need to do with the lecturers and the students. The other thing that they've succeeded in doing is that they've killed students' unionism. They thought they were doing themselves good when they killed students' unionism. If you still had an active students' union, if you union to be able to relate with the school authorities and let the school authorities know the needs of the student, you'll find that there will be a cordial relationship between the student and the teachers. But when you intimidate the students, when you rusticate members of the students' union, when you blackmail the officials of the students' union and make them, because you can only threaten them with graduation, when you do that, then you weaken the students' union. And the students' union is supposed to be the bridge between the school authorities and the students. And when that bridge does not exist, then it becomes a wild, wild west. The lecturers can relate with the students directly the way they want. The school authorities can pass any laws and there will be nobody to question them, because it is the students' union who has the responsibility to take up the issue of students. But when they don't exist, how does the students relate with the lecturers and vice versa? So those are the institutions that once they allowed it to collapse, The relationship between students and lecturers collapsed completely. The other one is the huge case of corruption. The huge case of corruption. It is appalling now that first year students will be telling you about how much money they need to pay. Unreceipted money. Money that they don't get receipt for. They have to pay this money because before they are admitted into institutions. And people know about this. It is general knowledge. Everybody knows about it. And nobody does anything about it. So that is domiciled corruption. That is institutionalized corruption. If you don't deal with it, it will continue. There is no two ways about it. So if I go back to leadership and I say it is the unwillingness of leadership to do the right thing that is causing the problem, somebody is going to say, you're just going back to criticizing the government. But that is it. The government is the most powerful institution that can regulate anybody. So if the government does not regulate, then what can you do? There's nothing that people can do. If the government will sit back and see a student being kicked out of school because they are protesting against something, a lady protests about indecent behavior towards her by a lecturer, she's kicked out of school. Then what do you think the other ones would do? They won't do nothing. If the government will sit back and see school fees hiked to a level where it is difficult for the average family to send their kids to school and they don't do anything, then there's no hope. There's nothing they can do. And let me tell you something. This thing is a sitting time bomb. What I see on ground is that they have rubbished education so much that it's all about money now. It's not about standard. It's not about quality. If you can just get the money, you are admitted. A larger percentage of the times, let someone prove me wrong. If you can just get a certain amount of money, you give the money, you're admitted. So it's not really the best brains that get admission into school right now. It is people who are able to get this money and do what they're supposed to do. Someone says, Emeka Mayor, how do you tackle youth unemployment and insecurity occasioned by armed herdsmen in Enugu State if elected the governor? Right now, we're dealing with education. I will touch about security later, but let's talk about education. It is also because the foundation of everything is very important. Analyze that the people who are getting into school now, most people are not getting into school as a result of merit. Because what corruption has done is that it has allowed people to enter school just because they can come up with a certain amount of money. So if your uncle can give you the money, if you can go sell your land and bring the money, if you can go do some criminal activity and get the money, if you can just bring the money, guess what will happen? You get admission into school. It says, I lived in Enugu for 7 years. One thing I observed in the state civil service is that very old people occupy the ministry positions. How do you address this issue for younger graduates to gain employment? What you do, it's still about leadership doing the right thing. If you are the head of this, if you are the head of the civil service in the state, if you are the helm of affairs, and you pass a law or you pass an instruction, what you do is you follow up. You just follow up. If you follow up and these things are not done, you sack the people who are responsible. Let's not forget that there is a prescribed year of retirement in the ministry. So if you tell me that old people are occupying positions in the ministry, who do you want me to blame? The paymaster, the person who pays these people, is the one who has refused to stop paying them. Is the one who has decided to look the other way. Don't we have DGs in this ministry? We have DGs. Why are those people still there? Sometimes it's because they create fake employees, they create ghost workers. Then the monies that are paid to these ghost workers, they turn around and pay this money to some of the DGs and use it to bribe them to make them continue staying in those positions. And that's why the DGs will look the other way. Because if not, the DGs will periodically ask for an assessment of the ministries. And whoever has reached the age of retirement, you retire them. And when you retire them, you employ the graduates who are ready to be employed. And you know, the sad thing is that most of the old people who have refused to leave the civil service, they entered civil service when they were 16 years, 17 years, 18 years. Now, I don't know if it occurred to them that all this while that they are working in the civil service without retiring, that a lot of other people have graduated. And these people who have graduated, guess what? These people cannot find employment. Just like we find in the political political climate of our country and of our state. We have people who entered politics in their early 30s, in their late 20s. They've continued to recycle each other. They've continued to bind together and continue asking for re-election. And all this while they've been doing this, the new, vibrant young people who have been striving to get a chance in leadership and politics, they don't create any way for them. When you talk about insecurity, because I know everybody wants to hear what I'll do when I'm the governor about this Fulani headsman. Let me tell you the truth. Studies abound that professionals have done concerning the Fulani herdsmen crisis. There are 2 or 3 different classes of people, because some people get the wrong impression that every Muslim here living in Enugu State is a bad person, is a perpetrator of violence, is somehow connected to the Fulani herdsmen crisis. Everybody from the north is an Hausa person or a Fulani person. Those are big lies. Those are huge fallacies. If you go to Owerri Road, if you go to Udi Road, if you go to Ono Asata, you would see Hausa men, you see Kogi men, you see Fulani men, you see Gwari men, you see families who have lived there for 60, 70 years. They don't even remember where their homes are. They cannot even go back. So I just wanted to put that on the line that there are peace-loving Northerners living in Enugu State. The studies have proven that there is a pattern that these attacks used to happen. We know that the people who rear the cattle are not the owners of the cattle. We know that the owners of the cattle are people who instigate the head, because there are the normal headsmen who rear the cattle, and then there are the machine-carrying headsmen who go and engage in terrorism, killing people, shooting people, and when they come and engage in that attack, they don't remain, they go. They just come and engage in that attack and they retreat. And studies have shown that it is the owners of this cattle, when there is some argument, when there is some problem between the cattle rearers and maybe the villagers or the locality in where they are rearing their cattle, maybe because the cattle attack the farmers' crops and all that. When there's problem, they are the ones that send SOS to their Oga, and then their Oga will now send this. They actually hired a lot of them from Nigeria Republic. They send them as security to come and harass those people who are trying to disturb the men who are rearing the cattle. And in doing this, these people will now, because they are just mean, ruthless mercenaries. They just come, they don't care about the people. Look, the Fulani men who actually rear their cattle around these neighborhoods, they know these villages, they speak their language. They've been here for donkey years. They are not the ones that get into trouble. So The first place to start is to get to the root of the problem. When you get to the root of the problem and you engage the merchants, you engage the real owners of this cattle, we'll all be able to understand ourselves clearly. They will know that we understand what is happening. And whenever there is a distress call, whenever we get an intelligence report about the possibility of an attack, we should not take it lying down. As the chief security officer of the state, you should put your ears on the ground and make sure that you treat any case seriously. Don't say, oh, this could just be a false alarm. Because the opposite of you erring on the side of caution, the other side of it is having great tragedy because we did not do what we were supposed to do. So that is simply how to solve that problem. And then you make sure that you have a good communication system. Since that Fulani crisis is an endemic problem right now in Nigeria, I propose for there to be a task force that is just dedicated to solving this problem. It will be like a crack squad. They will be very efficient with communication. They will be monitoring red alerts. Whenever there's an alert about an imminent attack, they will move into action with vehicles, with radio, with area surveillance. You don't even have to have a helicopter, ordinary drone. Let me tell you what I heard. I heard of the activities of a lot of these herdsmen around neighboring forests, the forests around Enugu. I heard that they have camps there, and sometimes some of them engage in criminal activities like robbery and kidnapping, and people have testified, people who have been kidnapped or people who have had to run into them were taken into these bushes, and when they got into those bushes, they saw other people tied up. So it's not something that is even hidden. But guess what? If ordinary people will have this kind of intelligence report, and the security officers in the state don't have this kind of intelligence report, then there's a problem. Because you should know more than the ordinary citizens. And then even if the ordinary citizens know about this and you hear about it, then we should investigate. And that's where the drone comes into play. We can use drones and do regular, that's what we're talking about, technology and 2018. People don't understand. It's not too expensive. Just flying a drone around these areas once a day, how much will it cost you? Anybody can buy a drone now. With $500, you can buy the best drones that they have. You can buy the Phantom drone for $500 or $600. How much is that? Just going up with a drone, we can just keep mapping these places and we can monitor them. The cows will show. You see them shifting. You see where they are occupied. If there is any attack, the drone will take off and follow them. But there will be an attack. While the attack is going on, we would know. Nobody will do anything. They will finish the attack. They will trek. They don't even come with Range Rover or four-wheel runner. They will trek away from the place. Yet nobody will catch them. If you had drones and you deploy them, let's not even talk about helicopters. If you deploy the drones way up in the sky where they will not even hear the noise, you can follow them right up to wherever they are taking the people they kidnap or wherever they are going after the attack, and you can jump on them later on and arrest every one of them. But what can I say? Anyways, we got distracted. They took us away from our topic for today, which, oh my goodness, which is education. We're really talking about education. Today, there's someone that I actually wanted us to he said there's a proliferation of private schools in Enugu, charging exorbitant fees, and while some of them lack basic amenities and recreational facilities necessary for all grooming of a child, what are the measures you will put in place to regulate this development, and what are your plans to upgrade public schools to become efficient and affordable? My brother, I'm going to answer this question by Emeka Mayo. First of all, What measures would you put in place to regulate? That's the key word, regulate. Regulate. What is so difficult about regulating these schools? I remember when we were in primary school, I'm not talking about secondary school, they will tell us that health inspectors are coming to school. That day, everybody will be so impeccable. Primary school, health inspectors. Not to talk about inspectors from the Ministry of Education. Those times, if inspectors from Ministry of Education were coming, you see our principal in primary school running all over the place. You see, my father was a teacher. So I knew my father would be, everybody would be on their toes because the people from the ministry are coming. I'm telling you. But now, so let's go back. The key word is regulate. You need to have a body, a committee to regulate these people. It is not difficult now. Let us have a set of rules that for you to operate a school, number one, the classroom, I'm an architect, so at least there are basic things that there's something called even basic anthropometrics. All of these people fail it. In a classroom, there's a standard that you're supposed to meet before you can use a room to engage in studies. But here, all of them fail that standard. So if you have a committee, let them go around. Number one, did you meet the requirement for space? No. Mark it. All right. The qualification of your teachers. Do your teachers meet? Let me see their qualification. Do they meet that standard? No. You mark it. Okay, accreditation. Are you accredited by this to offer these courses, to teach this, to do this? No. So the problem is not in constituting that kind of body. The problem is that the government, whoever is in charge, the governor, whoever, does not want to establish this committee. And when you establish this committee, you don't monitor them, you don't follow up, you don't discipline them, and so they are allowed to go haywire. In fact, people will lobby to belong to this committee because all they're going to do is go around those schools and collect money from them. It is an avenue for them to get rich quick. And then that goes back to the endemic corruption that we have. Right now, corruption is, in fact, we should just change the name of corruption. Corruption is outdated. I don't even know what system is it. Because even the little child knows that everything is money. Everything is money. If somebody looks at you, they think you understand what they are telling you. It's money. Everybody just wants money. There's hunger. People are hungry. People are desperate. They just want money. So people can do anything for money. So I would constitute a committee to regulate these schools, period. If you regulate them, if you shut some of them down, then the others will learn their lesson. You understand? If you shut a few schools down, make an example of them. It's so easy for us to go around and destroy small shades of the woman selling pepper and the keke, and catch the keke driver and collect 1 naira from them. And all this labor. It's so easy for us to go around these people who are in the lower level of our society. But it is difficult. I mean, it's easy for us to go after them, but it is difficult for us to go against the bigger people because these schools are all owned by people who are rich. Of course, they are rich because of the amount of money that they charge. I'm telling you, if a student is to pay like $1 million something, and if I say it, you think it's a joke. If a student pays $1 million plus for a school, imagine how much a school of about 500 people gets. That's about 500 million. How much are you paying the teachers? How much are you paying for services? How much are you paying to maintain the place? Another day I want to talk about power, and I'll tell you what people are doing now. People are buying transformers and putting it inside their house because of how bad power has become. People have moved on from generators. It's no longer generator. It is transformers that people are putting in their houses now. I have seen this in Enugu here. Guess what kind of danger that portends for people? If those transformer should, do you know when a transformer blows, you know what happens? I'll talk about that another day. There is a friend of mine who actually got an admission to read outside this country. I'm going to post information about him. I've checked him out. He's very genuine, and I want us to be able to help him. He set up a page where people can go and help you. If you're on, I'd like you to just post in the comment, post a link where people can go and support you. He's a very, very stubborn young man. I mean, stubborn in a good way. He is bent on studying at the course of his choice. He already has admission. He's as an Enugu State born youth. I'm going to do everything within my ability to make sure that he actually travels to the United States and does what his heart's desires are, and that is to study. Please go ahead and post those links to your page. You can even post your admission so that people can see. Tochi Precious says, Nigeria values certificates more than skills. That's why you can become a graduate without ever writing an exam. You're more recognized than someone who has better skills. Mechanical engineering graduates. Why many graduates get frustrated with their certificate when they can't find a job? Let me tell you one experience I had. And my apologies to my lecturers in the Department of Architecture, University of Nigeria, Enugu campus. When I was a student there, I went, and you can imagine someone like me, I was very active in school, so I can imagine those of my friends who were just like, triangular students, they go to lectures, they go to hostel, they go to where else? They go to cafeteria, class, and then lectures. I was active, I was going out. But can you believe that after so many years in school, when we came to actually supervise projects on site, I did not understand the meaning of when the messengers were saying, Oga, this block, don't worry, this wall, like 8 coaches, and we are done. I was like, what are they talking about? Because all through my days in school, nobody taught me about coaches. I said, okay, Oga, how we go mix her now? Is it 2:3 or 3:2? I've been looking at him because nobody told me anything about it. Nobody told me about reinforcement. Nobody told us nothing. We're busy spending hours trying to find the point of intersection in space of an imaginary line for years. And people had to repeat a whole year because they failed descriptive geometry. And when you come to real life, you can't even locate the point in space that you repeated for, the year for. What am I trying to say? The point I'm trying to make is that it is better when you go, and that's why I'm going to be, my friends are arranging for me to take up part-time lectures at the University of Nigeria, Enugu campus. It is important that you bring the practical thing to the students and teach them the practical aspect of the course. You know what? They are going out there to go and be messed up by a laborer who's going to say, Oga, what will we go mix now? Yeah, you're saying, let me see. Mix 25 ml of water to 13 kilogram of, that is nonsense. I want to go there and tell them, okay, if you want to build a house, this is how you start. You start from digging the foundation. Here, we call it 25 mm. Nobody's going to say 25 mm. When you get to site, you're going to hear 9 inches and 6 inches. Do you guys understand? There is nothing like 225 and 150 mm blocks because they don't even more than 150 and 225 mm. So when you design with 225, when you come out there, it's not going to be the same thing. When you say 4 blocks of 150 mm, which is supposed to give you 600 mm, for where? What about the chalking in the middle? What about the cement that the mason will put in the middle? Nobody told us about that. So when you design for 5 blocks, by the time the mason puts the cement inside, it becomes, at the end of it, it becomes 4.5 blocks. So your estimate is wrong, your description is wrong, your specification is wrong. You'll be looking like a fool. You go and design for the height, for the wall to end at 3,000 millimeters high. But you forgot that there is cement in between when they lay the blocks. By the time they get to the 12th or 10th block, it's more than what you design. So they'll be cutting the block. Why don't you learn how much is the height of block, which is 9 inches, and learn that the mortar, the cement they put there, is about 2 or 3 inches. Then you add it to the height of the block, and you know that, okay, this thing is actually 6 inches plus 2.5 inches. So you make the block like 8 inches, and multiply the 8 inches and make your wall end about the 8th or the 9th or the 10th block, so that when you design like that, when you come to site, it becomes something that is practicable. Everybody will be happy. The mason, you know the time they lose trying to cut that block? Do you know the amount of material you waste your client because your education in class, it is not concurrent with the real site education? So we are lacking real technical education, which is actually what prepares you for the life outside. It's not to waste 6 years or 7 years in school, then come out again and spend another 6 years learning the same thing that your parents spent money teaching you in school. And yet, somebody who learned that job on site there for 3 years can build a house without drawing better than you that has your PhD in architecture. So we should go back to technical education and bring people who can teach our students practical things, so that when they finish, when you go for interview, they don't look at your certificate, they ask you practical things. And if you cannot solve those questions, you're not going to get the job. Now let me see if our friend has posted his Udechidera, please can you post some things, post the link where people can go and help you out with your tuition, okay? Ude, just go ahead. Ude, not you, Chidera, the other guy. Please go ahead and post something there. I hope you're still on. I hope your credit has not finished. But anyway, even if it's finished, we're going to post it, and then we'll give you an opportunity to be able to assist this young man. Anyways, if you have any more questions, please let's go ahead and take the questions. But let us recap now in telling you that the standard of education is really very, very low, because the people who are getting into school, they are not getting into school through merit. There's so much corruption, and all they're doing is just paying their way into school. And when they get into school too, because the lecturers keep hammering on buying handouts, on doing some funny things, it's all about money. They find the money, they pay the money, when they finish doing all this, I didn't talk about the quality of life of these students. I wish I had some students come on, but I don't know, the network is not letting us bring them on. If they had come on, you guys would have seen the deplorable state of these students and where they live. If you would weep. And these are some of the problems that we are having. Also, because there is lack of regulation, there's no proper regulatory body to be able to regulate these lecturers. The lecturers just do whatever they like. It is education for education's sake. That's what we have here. Yeah, and that's why when you finish, you find it difficult to get a job, because you didn't get the good training. You didn't get the good training. The training you had was just an agreement between you and the lecturer. The lecturer just comes and says, listen, you will, if you don't, you will not pass. We have an deplorable, very deplorable. I'm going to have to stop this broadcast now. Let us keep on making these comments. Let us keep on expressing how we feel. Let's not be intimidated. Let's let the government of the day know where they're not doing right. If they get it right, we encourage them, but our duty is to hold them accountable and make sure that they're going to serve us. We have a lot of things in store for you when the government of AAC comes into power. I've just given you a snippet. There is so much that we have in our manifesto. There is so much that we have for the people of Enugu State. We have quality education. We have plans where institutions are able to relate with institutions abroad. I keep telling my friends who are students here that I will be able to connect them with lecturers in Canada and US, in UK, wherever they need these people. They are freelance lecturers. They are people who have devoted their lives to contributing to the education of students. All we have to do is get them hooked through internet. We mount a projector and they will deliver free lectures to students, free practical lectures to students at no fee at all. I'm going to introduce it in all tertiary institutions when I become the governor of Enugu State. These are things that don't cost jack. These are ways that we can bring about very high-class, advanced, international standard education into Enugu State. Enugu State would once more become an education destination where people would travel, like the way we are traveling to Ghana and elsewhere. People would travel. I'm telling you, if I become the governor of Enugu State, people would travel from all over Africa to come and school in Enugu State. Do you know what it means? When all these students are here, their parents will come to visit them. When they come to visit them, they will stay in hotels. They will buy houses for these students. They will buy up all these houses, the estates that we are building. You see the comparative, the economic advantage of just sanitizing your education system. But people are myopic. People don't have vision. They don't see how education is connected to the economy. They don't see all of these things. But we know, because we have the experience, because we've lived all over the world and we've seen these things work. It doesn't take rocket science. It doesn't take too much money. It just takes a leader with a vision. And that's what I'm offering Enugu State. Thank you so much, guys, for coming on. And let's keep doing the best that we can. And AAC is here to stay. Bye-bye. Let me just take this last question. Most times, lecturers don't get their salaries as at when due. Again, it is the problem of leadership. If the leaders don't do what they're supposed to do, then the lecturers will not do what they're supposed to do, and then it becomes a vicious circle. In these times, I think vocational schools need to be focused on the value chain they plug into is instantaneous. Yes, Bemsa, you're very, very, very correct. All right, guys, I got to go. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.